So, as regards my target, yeah, in inverted commas though, one has to be careful, yeah, one really has to be careful, because the world is full of media. Media is all over. One does not have to look over to India, yeah, one can stay here in Europe or in Germany to see that media indeed plays huge role, which is of course part of democracy. Fourth, power in a state. This role they have since long, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm very much okay with that. But if I feel and if I sense and if I think and if I know and can argue that they are overstepping borders, intruding into my private life, then indeed I can say, here is a stop, albeit it has already been overstepped. So, how that? A row backwards. When did I have my last boyfriend, sexual intercourse, love relationship, anything like that, meaning a guy visibly at my side, be it, and here we come near, be it on screens and cameras, or in reality on streets, me being in the nose, that one can be seen. So, yeah, in the very health center, there was that guy always beside me, advising me to do this and that, and I would do likewise. That one, however, well, he was exchangeable. Yeah, one just would find the pictures and so on and so forth. Have to interchange faces and so on and so forth on pictures. Maybe even change sizes of corpses standing beside me and so on and so forth. Albeit there is this very scene which would show him imitating a nashorn, a rhinoceros, which would later not invite me, but which I would later encounter upon having myself, though with a complete different intention. I would have stayed outside of that building, but I went inside, so there was a Vorsatzwechsel, and I was able to a change of intention, that is. So I would not overstep too many lines and just enter one letterbox, and in there I indeed found something, I think. I indeed in there found something, namely 3 letters, Finance Ministry Thuringia, an Amtsblatt, loads of advertisement. The letterbox was crammed, but the advertisement dating back long, so one could have assumed that every now and then the upper part of that layer, of that staple, was exchanged was taken out in order for the post office man or woman to put in some new advertisement and so on and so forth. But underneath, nothing was exchanged. Everything was left there as it had been put in there or left there as the date of the letters and messages and so on and so forth would tell. And that the last one, I think it was 2002 or 2001. So what else was inside? Other letters confirming that, from any insurance, if I can recall it correctly. The pictures are already away taken, yeah? I don't have them. I have them on an email because I filed it with the police in Thuringia. What else was inside? I think that was the most important, and I would do this little build collage, and I would photograph it. And later when I saw those photos, I thought to myself, how on earth am I looking? I'm looking like my father. My father, though, would never have come to any idea like that, because he is not legally trained. Me also, practically, I'm not trained at all. But I can think, as I would already have announced to that one. So I would just look into my very own handy photographing myself and the build collage in front of me, and later on I thought, God no, I have to get out of here because I'm not my father, yeah. So, so that build collage told in parts that, simply that as important letters as from the Thuringian Finance Ministry, saying anything on tax matters inside, most probably. I did not open any letter. Yeah, so something severe must have happened inside, one could assume further, inside the very flat, yeah, being interconnected with that very connected letterbox. One would assume that, no? So, and the Amtsblatt was showing the very picture that I noticed not on the Amtsblatt then, that was later, but prior on, I think, on a web.de, yeah, my email provider web.de, it is seated in Karlsruhe, interestingly, because Karlsruhe, if one says Karlsruhe, everybody until recently, or still, thought Karlsruhe is a placeholder for the Bundesverfassungsgericht, for the highest German court. So the email provider, I am with them since 2000 prior even. So they have seated themselves in no other city than in Karlsruhe. Yeah, so there was that summer I just browsed through my yeah, and I saw that article, and it would tell us anything, us and other Germans in the whole of Germany, tell us anything on a new arrival in the Erfurtian Zoo. Yeah, so they would invite a rhinoceros over from Great Britain, south somewhere I think, and there was talks something on pedigrees of both rhinoceroses, the Erfurtian one and the British one. So then maybe the same day or in the same week I would have another appointment in this health center, and yeah, somehow he alluded to that very article by imitating a rhinoceros. I could have assumed, but it was too vague. It was too vague. Like other examples here around, yeah. If one hops on that, yeah, you just showed me this and that, and does this mean this and that? And then he would go downstairs, and presumably aside of the record medical treatment, he would lead another file like oddities of Imke Anne Westermann. Oddities of Imke Anne Westermann. By Imke Anne Westermann. So I did that build collage. This was that. I would not want to pair myself with a rhinoceros, because I am not yet a rhinoceros. And prior, there was years long nothing much. Albeit I had some very nice encounters with my brother and his Lebensgefährtin. I don't know whether and if and whom then they would resemble me. Yeah. For example, they would show up loads of new bought by her though, of how do you call it, Geschirr. I even don't have proper Geschirr. I eat from plastics or in standings and sometimes from serviettes. So I don't want to have their stuff though, because it is too colorful. But it was a reminder. It was a reminder indeed of a flat that my brother had in Berlin, It is also insertable into certain contexts, which I would not do here. So we had those nice little encounters, and there. I still have no clue who they think or who they were expected to resemble me. And prior in the Obdachlosenwohnheim, where there was this chap that unfortunately was so very untalkative and so very completely, I don't know, somehow likable though, yeah, but I'm not a psychologist, I must say. And I could place him just in this mind map quite late, but I did place him indeed into the village context. I did that video to Dr. Hennig. He will forgive me because that person really freaked me out and might even indeed have attempted a murder attempt on orders. Yeah, this would be in favor of that chap. And there was this very night in which yeah, it happened this and that, and others might have been invited to just take part, making me a kind of famous. Yeah, one would have had to deal with that and have gotten money. So presumably my brother would step in, directed by his Lebensgefährtin the other way around, or both were agreeing upon that, because of course for those services one gets money, lots of money, if indeed it was the case that lots of people were invited. I did not see any cam, and would I have been asked and would I have been informed, I would have clearly objected. But I am just a human being, and then 2012 it was, 2011, yeah, so also I have moments and it just overcame me. Huh? So maybe also it was made possible via certain things in astonishing beverages. I got served once in a while. Astonishing beverages, I must say. I don't suggest that it was drugs inside, but certain mixtures I thought, what do I taste here? This is odd. This I go into my room. I could have stayed there all the time, but I am not a loner. Yeah, a quotation, a loner. Munich quotation, a loner. Maybe I go back into my room and just get my cola light. That was that. Prior 2010, I had arrived there. So I indeed needed some relaxation. Yeah, this time it was not able to have a few days of intellectual reconvalesation, as prior upon my arrival in Berlin. But yeah, there was a human corpse, a living human corpse. Then in 2010 I had finished the first version of the reconstruction of the criminal core complex, and 2007 it was a disaster. Each and every social contact I had prior, and I really liked the one or the other one, and I would not have thought well, I can rely on them, because I did not think that I would be placed into the position of thinking to myself, can I here rely on people? Yeah, I simply have no clue what had happened prior in 2006 following. I simply have no clue, and still I'm left in the dark as I'm reconstructing and entertaining here people, and seeing my texts going to elsewhere, well, not really seeing, but having to think that it indeed is the case, which in parts I think I am still sound-minded and can argue, and I will be understood. This is clear. So I kind of arranged that situation. Then 2007 it was that. No one would explain me anything. I would receive a few sentences of few with which I could not do anything because I simply don't understand, I didn't understood the meaning of a sentence like do search for your own midst. Or you might have told the wrong people that you are going to study this and that, but without any explanation, which would have been better in her case. It would indeed have been better because she, example, got the very shoes of hers when she was 10 and I was 16, likely from those people. And now I'm kind of being able to let them turn in, at least the family father, if not also the mother. But indeed it took a long time and I don't know if they are still turnable in because I have no clue whether they are still living or not. Then in 2006 indeed I had a short kind of affair, and now things begin to become very interesting because I just grasped the idea behind, yeah, we are in a media context and in the context of how to make something more out of certain people amongst likely me. Amongst likely me, not on grounds of being a part, not a subject, but a part, an object, yeah, not an object, grammatically wise, an object of an accusative object, interestingly, of someone's business model, which at the same time is my very reconstruction of the criminal core complex. So that person there indeed was a look similar, and I just came upon that as I just started to say when I wrote the bond list, the bond text list. Yeah, so there are, I think it was one. I even don't recall the name, and I did not watch those bonds then. I had not watched them, would you believe that? So that one was looking like my love relationship number 3, slightly like that one, or the other way around. And 2006, it was a Will Smith, albeit I would not have been presented a picture row, which I would on those premises would not have want to watch, to see. Yeah, so it happened to be I could say a mulatte, which is a kind of a slang word and not really nice. Here they have also one. She would appear astoundingly. I find some people here astounding and off-putting, I must say. I don't want to hinder her business though, unless it involves my text. So that one, looking like that one, and I also am not a fan, not at all a fan of. It is here. I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't mean exactly the opposite. Yeah. So just take it as I say it. Will Smith, I did not watch any to full length of Will Smith films, simply because I don't watch them. And prior, the love relationship number 3, looking like that bond. Then before, again, I told it already, very look similar to LORIOT, the one since long dead, and not questionable at all, as one would have thought. One would not have thought about it at all. And prior, astoundingly, I don't see any actor, not yet, yeah, not yet. Any actor who would have been resembled by my choice than love relationship number 1. Well, it was my choice, foreseeably. He also would put himself in a kind of position to being chosen, and indeed he was chosen. A quick grab, but we had some nice months and we were both talkative. This would really connect us. We were both very talkative, and we would have spent only on those grounds some nice hours, and weren't only in the car of my mother's driving here and there. Me driving though. Me fueling the tank. Then prior I had this misdone quasi boyfriend. A very similar also. I did not recognize it when I was suggested by 3 very special female friends of mine to just watch a film in then French, because we then had already been in France. Me and another one completely a non-understanding of French. She, because she was not very then probably not very linguistically equipped, so to speak. And she, by the way, she herself got resembled by Verona Poth. They both would share this weakness of a conflation of the third and fourth case, if you would count nouns. Again, the objective. Whoses or on whom, so to speak. Towards whom. Understand me. The third and fourth case in a noun counting. Prior, was there any other actor? I hope not, I must say. So, so there must be a reason for that, and this one can find maybe in but one stay in England of mine, when there was this person which I can believe had a real a blue-blooded pedigree. She would explain it to me extensively, and I did not understand too much, because I could not follow into the rows of relatives of hers. I simply did not understand that, but I did believe her that she was blue-blooded. Onto that, now row backwards. Onto that, Marburg 3 contact male number 2. There were 2, one after another. Number 2 would spring upon, telling me he also was blue-blooded. I did not object, because it did not interest me, and one, if one is honest, one cannot prove it. Yeah, I mean, there are so many levels of blue-bloodedness. So this is what I want to say. Yeah, for example, Bülow, they are stemming from the east side of Poland. Not unimportant, because a goodie to follow afterwards. So that one would spring on that, and let's recall, that one was the one that also witnessed the demises of that flat, because the main renter, she simply did not pay everything, but we had paid her already. So that was that, and of course no one of us came to the idea to renovate the whole flat, yeah, as was just suggested or done, and then to be re-rehearsed and redone and repeated in Marburg 1 following contexts. Those people over there, they would renovate indeed a whole flat, but they were all full-fledged in those tasks. Me and the Hamburgian, the real or unreal, also blue-blooded, we simply did not come to the idea. Why should we? So each of us would move to different flats, and yeah, he did it himself. He communicated certain things, and of course I had to spring upon that. He communicated lastly under a yeah. If one counts, I have to say, message was we are going to video cam you because we like you so very much. You are so very attractive and nice looking, and some of us really want to see how you fuck, how you get fucked, how you overeat, how you undereat, how you shit, how you pee, urinate, how you simply live your life as if you were an animal. As if you were an animal, which we already had heard, presumably, which we already had heard in a kind of a saloon led by the very first female Marburg 1 contact of mine, the half German Catholic Egyptian one. Then later being accompanied by her later husband, who tasked with the task to follow up on things, having been likely sent by German Institute of Psychology, because I there took a test, got €5 for that, 10 Deutsche Mark, and just ticked some crosses here and there. For that I got that, 10 Deutsche Mark, €5 today, approximately. It was alluded to though. That and also that together with other facts brought me to the idea that indeed since the 80s certain undertakings only in Marburg were taking place, beginning to take effect and place, to strip certain people off of their credentials and more even, lastly, their lives, their very own lives, being resembled in credentials, in pedigrees, I mean blue-blooded or non-blue-blooded, doesn't matter. Certain parents and areas from which one stems, anything. Lastly, anything. And I was being made part of that. How did I come to that? Yeah, so the Marburg 3 second male contact would tell in inverted commas, but reconstructible and arguable, say this, an animal, like she was saying. She would remark when I would say that a couple of times. I have indeed 13 points in my Strafrechtshausarbeit. Yeah. So one time she would reply, "Imke, du Tier," and I would expectedly smile and just shortly giggle because of the sentence and the way she would pronounce it in Kölsch, Cologne dialect. Of course, yeah, it would make me indeed giggle and laugh a little. And then already, likely, I also wrote that. Yeah, I also wrote that in a list. That it indeed was obviously a kind of introduced a new ruling and paragraph, as if the person you are confronting with a certain sentences, and be it completely out of the completely weird, I thought, to take things serious and act upon. No, the opposite. As if a kind of a philosophical new dealing with law. Here, law prescriptions. The picture here, their undertakings being by myself re-put into coincidental doublings and links, capital letter links. Their tradition of German law. Some people can deal with it, others don't. Here, likewise, some people can deal with it, others simply have no clue. Like, can I have your wife? Catholic can I have your wife, your house, your everything, your money, and can I then do this and that? And if the person, I exaggerate, yeah, I exaggerate. Yeah, and if the person in front of you would smile because this is so odd, I thought, then it would mean a yes, like that. Like that, they think it functions, and indeed I kind of already made things function like that. In my case, though. So that, and if you don't forget that part of my line of quasi boyfriends, love relationships, so-called people I encountered, then yeah, then one really LORIOT stands out. LORIOT stands really out. He was not too very funny though, and also it is possible, I must admit, that he is not a LORIOT at all, a von Bülow at all, so that I have already, so that I'm not scratching von Bülows at all, because it also could have been the case that he was a cousin or what of another villager in our near, somehow a relative to my long-yeared classmate, female, a Silke. With a telling family name though, which I forgot to include into my very text on LinkedIn, on feathers and ducks, a money laundering scheme. So there one could include that family only by means of the name, because it might, yeah, the argument would be because their very family name having been made interesting because of the acquaintance to my person and the business model and the then already primary school days beginning, having already begun crime relevant undertakings against, for example, my mother. Yeah, getting dragged out at night and returning with a quite heavy a mark on her arm is one would say that it is not too obvious that it was an attempt of self-murder. It is ridiculous. Yeah, it is completely ridiculous. But it was succeeded to make her feel ashamed, as she would wear her pupils, as I say in another video, could have confirmed that she was wearing her few things as if to cover other people's crimes. Also, she would stop weeping only after a couple of years and never explain herself to anyone. And this was really going on my nerves, I have to say, and this is why I don't cry. This is also the reason why it's always attempted to either freak out or cry, and if you don't, we are simply sitting in our chairs and stools and can watch you wherever we want with our equipments. LORIOT, there is the sketch, a heavy equipment those people have. Yeah, we can do this, and we will go on ever after. Now you're already 51. It is a pity, ja, es ist so bitter, es ist manchmal zu lesen, ja, es ist so bitter. 20 years indeed I lost. But I have to say, I already could have been dead, and my text already could never have come into being. So this is and the prospects how it can deal on further. And not all in the world is LORIOT. Not all in the world as of yet is LORIOT. So my brother would develop into becoming huge an asshole, I have to say. But it is only recently that I saw the possibility on which kind of grounds it indeed might have been the case that I have been murder attempted, other than same message, yeah, other than accidented, me an accident, for certain not because it's me, but because birth control, yeah. Those people also are in the businesses of birth control, and if indeed that was the case, then one can very much assume that those ennings and sevenings and simply preparing of stickstoffed pills in order to push in yeah, that other paragraph of mine in English already, it is indeed and also rural area. I did that practical work at the veterinaries, and there I saw that indeed cows can be implanted with one has a catalog. It is interesting to see, really. And imagine what can you do with those bird semen? What can you do? So they would do me that pleasure in the UAE. They would do me certain other pleasures, um, expecting me even to pay for that. Yeah, 50,000 euros. I had to pay back upon their wishes. I might even have, because I still have not gotten anything. Because simply they are in between, they are always in between me and where the real life is. Presented, resembled in money, resembled in the right people, resembled in the right female friends, for example. Also, similar type, LORIOT type, the Germa-Junge from Lower Saxony. That one here, being resembled in a mother-daughter pair, who also played a kind of opaque and murky role and would not have told me anything, but better ought have. And if one counts all that together, and counts the years in which certain undertakings take place, then one really also from that angle arrives at the conclusion. Yeah, indeed, there might have been a major murder attempt, at having been set into plannings at least. As for me, 2006 following in the UAE. So how did those people get that hooked onto only my person? Because of the linguistical. And this could have been done and told as following. After a second love relationship was over, I would do it now if they replay things and turn us all back 20 years approximately. Of course, it shall be the result that I was left by love relationship number 2. The person in the health center can look similar, meantime, biochemistry. One of my playlists says biochemistry matters. This is also the reason why this Dr. Hennig ought not be too furious now about me, because only that video might indeed serve in inverted commas to let him stand out and be it after his death. Because of course, biochemistry is so complicated, and if skillfully and so on and so forth applicated, it can be genius. But prior though, there have been long years and long rows of people that were victimized, crippled even, made ill, and years of that were not nice for many people at all. And the idea of mine, the blue flower example, that indeed just another, she presents the Lebensgefährtin of her brother, a present, a blue thing by which one would disinfect hotel mattresses. Now what we are going to with that present, it was farce, and we are going to use it like this. So one could have attempted to destroy milieus which are naturally there, which also might likely people fuck with each other and put sticks here and there. So likely not really disinfecting and cleansing, but eradicating everything, as if to make room for new living to settle in there. One does not want to know what kind of effect this would have upon the very owner of the lower body part. One does not really want to know what does that do. So why did those people get so hooked? Maybe because also of that astounding AA capability. I have no clue, not at all a clue of either biochemistry, nor chemistry, nor biology. It was too complicated, and it would have taken too long to get behind that, and I was also not interested. I even resisted studying Tiermedizin, veterinary medicine, because of those subjects, simply because I did not like them. But I think I can grasp and present things understandably for the public. Albeit myself not really having a clue how exactly it would function. So because of that, and because of my linguistic capabilities, this was communicated likely as following. The relationship number 2 was over, which would contest, would it really? Which could, would it really? Would it have to have been the case? Would it? Which would have contested the very role of of the whole of von Bülow's, because von Bülow is resembled by Loriot. Loriot is von Bülow, if one wills. If one leaves the other person out, that looks a little bit different, though. I would think the red-haired actor. Which also would convey, well, indeed, they might have thrown an eye or two on me since longer. At least since I was able to contest the really nerve-wracking behavior of my brother, until he would, I told it that one, until he would realize, wow, now with that one can go out, and I can show off that one to my friends. There was one test, again, Lüte, do they know each other also? One test where this was a kind of maybe seen by all of those. By all of those, albeit I picked out only few, namely those who could have been taken for playing a husband. Yeah, also from there diverting me from money pots, from real life, from real people, from real friends, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, you assholes. You assholes. So my linguistic capabilities became apparent early on. Not because I had to contest my brother, one can do it otherwise, I also did. Uh, uh, but also via reading. I read loads and loads and loads of books because life there was a little bit boring, I must say. And from the Hamburgian point of view, of course, I'm nothing much more than a Landpomeranzer. This is very clear. I'm for certain a Landpomeranzer. So the linguistic capabilities, second love relationship was over, and some months or what afterwards, then still Marburg 1 following female contact would tell me that she was that she had been told that some girl in Kassel would just storm into a tram, see there the then former love relationship number 2 of mine sit, and would immediately put her tongue. One would have to know the Arabic word for understanding that and the meanings of that word. Would immediately put her tongue into his mouth. Aha, aha. She would do that. It was not told, and I did not ask who was it. So that woman would do that, if true or untrue. But what does that anecdote say? That anecdote says, someone put into someone's mouth linguistic capabilities and the tongue. Because the Arabic vocab says lisan is both language, speech and tongue. If I had my Wer, the fat one, I could look it up and see maybe another a translation possible. So that, and that now, indeed, would hark back to but another anecdote. I also mentioned that one because, so that one would indeed allude to another quasi, no, not really. It was like that in our Nienburgian days, shortly before 92. Yeah, people would just have a nice time or a not so nice time together for just 2 weeks or so. I don't know if the others fucked or what. This is of course always interesting. Me, I did not until love relationship number 1 in Marburg though, and I thought then, really weird I thought, on those grounds now, weird I thought to having expected that in Marburg it would have been any better for me. I thought it was far away enough, 350 kilometers. Here, however, they would, that chap from Nienburg, yeah, slightly and also a look similar, and the mother of his, a brunette by the way, showing me off her then Silberbesteck. Now I have. So showing me off that as if to tell me anything, yeah. As a then maybe 17 years old, I fled out of that house. Harked back onto that anecdote and onto that person, interestingly. Did that Marburg 1 following contact help me? No, not at all. What does that psychologically do? it would sit in the mind, and uh, it even would not irritate. It just would be there. It just would be there, and I would not even say it would poison the mind, but it would just sitting there, and yeah, one can sit lastly on loads and loads and loads and loads of those coincidental doublings, and and on one occasion, on one certain up-leveling, I think one really could develop any kind of illness. Do they do illnesses in these ways or what? Sex cells, biochemistry cells, economy matters, and so on and so forth. But those people really, since long, have been in the center of being in the makings of for example, those things heaped upon certain people, and me as a victim of those people any longer. I have already tried to contest that. If having come late onto the thought of this column here in the middle, and though I did do this text in which I wrote death in my proximity very early on, at least in the second version of the core criminal complex. And I must say, just the Lisan example, they indeed will have gotten attention. No, the other way around. They indeed will have developed an interest in only my person very early on, namely when I was beginning to speak. So my father, the poor chap, not having realized, highly likely, that then curious neighbors were all in the while stepping in, or would soon afterwards, because this brunette, dark-haired lady, neighbors of ours, they would move in after another important neighbor. They would not move into our house. They would build themselves an own house, or rather, they would have got the financial means for that by, for example, those people. Yeah, why not? Being tasked with the task later on, after a couple of years, to simply see what is happening there. As if I was already a Bülow family member. How that? If I am completely different looking a person. To achieving that I was a kind of a family member of the Bülows, one indeed would have to hark back on Silke Gründel and make her a Imke Anne Westermann. But one example, how to exchange ideas, how to move people around, and how to build their very own world as to their own beliefs and premises and aims, and by their very own means. One get an impression. So my father, the poor chap, would simply write down a short list, though, because maybe I was talking too much or what. I for certain did not stop speaking. So he would scribble down first words, and then those Bülows, for certain not. I mean, look it up in Wikipedia. I believe that they have some kind of tradition in the military, highly ranked and so on and so forth. If own pedigree in that regard or not is another matter, but for certain there was some kind of connection to the then World War days, of course, existing Auswärtigen Amt. Of course, course, im Auswärtigen Amt, one expects people being able to judge upon languages, thereby upon people being able to speak that, to translate that, and so on and so forth. And now these days, yeah, Arabic is an important language. So I think I did not mention too many Arabic vocabs, only in these video appearances, and also in my very list, almost none. So one could have gained the impression, well, this is somehow Lebanese. This is somehow Lebanese. This is odd. Has to be explained. It was like that. I would call a. I don't tell an example. So the Lebanese dialect is full of ease, and this is what. Here I would stop, because otherwise it is too spontaneous an idea. But I just recall that the very beginnings in this column, yeah, in which people appear and gain certain roles as witnesses, as culprits, and as victims, would start off with an intermingling of two ideas, namely Shanaka, someone gets hanged. It happened to me, a relative of mine, of my mother's. And secondly, one gets married off. The region. Secondly, Shanaka, yeah, same sound. It Bahnhofschenke. They would pour out alcohol, take care of guests traveling from there to the Rhineland and getting out of Germany, presumably. They would intermingle those ideas to hang someone, and to do it in the maybe not in front of the place where one would drink. They would do it in an adjacent building, in a not too small a building complex. Maybe there was something with farmers and with cattle and so on and so forth. I don't know. It's just those relatives of mine had contacts to farmers since this long, before the World War, 2 days already. So, Bülows from over, I wanted to hug back onto a goodie soon. So, imagine that, from Bülows, if I recall that Wikipedia article correctly, from the very east of Poland, my mother's family, there, Osnabrück area, close by already North Rhine-Westphalia, and my father, on his behalf, if I'm not informed too incorrectly, in his ID card, since always, since his very birthday years, it is indeed written Stettin. There is indeed written Stettin, and Stettin, at least as of now, is Polish. It is Polish. So, people having been too curious and too, me also, I'm not too knowledge, but if I undertake undertakings on that, on a word, on a Ortsnamen, undertake undertakings just upon one information, yeah, that guy, headmaster soon, or since long headmaster, different time-wise viewpoints. So, if I undertake undertakings upon that information, merely or even leaving out every other aspect of his personality, of his life, and of his last, the horoscope even, yeah, would include, it just comes to my mind as of now, yeah, the very penis of the second love relationship of mine, yeah, circumcised. I did that, I could show that, I could argue that. Due to the very fact I was the best in German criminal law. I did not think about it. It must have been too male or what. So thereby letting profit others, males, I think it was just males, getting 11 and down to 9 points. So 24th, it is a Christian a day. It is a Christian a day, and it also there is this speech there is this saying in German. Am Schwanz des Johannes erkennst du seine Nase, or the other way around. I have forgotten. So that one is circumcised as if appearing as a Jew, which he wasn't. He was non-religious. Like that he himself is from the GDR, which would not have interested me. He could have told so, I mean. And then me in full view with a flat juice ass. This was not very good a thing to do, unless one would have expected that no one would ever talk about that, and that me as a victim would long be dead. So the idea card of my father says that, and this is explainable that his father already was a teacher and had been sent over to there from I did not always listen too carefully, so from somewhere lower Saxony. Minden or what? Was it Minden? Was it Osnabrück? They later would live in the near of Osnabrück also. No, they had already. I don't know that too thoroughly. It's just relatives. So, for certain, my father is not a Pole, but I must say the different types of Poles, if one can dare formulate so. So one are very black, and there are ones completely blonde. So my father is very much to the blonde side. I made this interesting when pondering about the question who the owner of a Sekko, a Binder, a Schlips, a Krawatte, a thing that would be worn by males, in a telling color, both also the Sakko was, and the dead corpse spritzer, the dead corpse flag, the dead corpse leftover was who that might have been, meaning who wore that suit and that binder on what occasion, when, and which kind of person one would imagine to having been inside that clothing. This is to be found in a video which I will connect. I can connect only one, but there's a whole row of 7 videos which relate, which build up upon each other, and then there is, as this one, additional ones which would count further on after 7, 8, 9, 10 and so on and so forth, but after this slash it remains 7, because after 7 there I already introduce a new kind of a finding. One indeed must ought before courts as a judge and as a statutory prosecutor, one ought not disregard the victim, as was already suggested, however, by another brunette, which now looks very similar to the sister of the very one that was married off upon anything, I don't say afterwards, married off, and the sister of the very, the other daughter of the very person that was hanged. So, not underestimate, but don't disregard. No, disregard is also the wrong vocab. Don't forget about the victim and what the victim does tell. Can it be the case that this is a kind of a, if not an advice, a suggestion, a kind of secret to be transmitted ever after into their new generations, yeah, by the media. By the media, because because. So, and of course, I must say, on behalf of those people, there were of course several opportunities, several occasions by which people could have become irritated. Would they? Would they become irritated? Yeah, German family name, and then I don't know. I mean, there was this possibility. Yeah, people would get transferred to elsewhere before already work for 2 days. Just yeah, because of the very aims and means, and so how else? Of course, people would be kind of resettled in order, not negatively meant or neutral. I mean neutrally, in order to work now there. As in the case of my grandfather, my father's side. But however, it becomes interesting when a Polish girl, hearable a Polish girl, she would not tell me otherwise. Like, I have gotten here the wrong ID card. I either want to have yours or a different one. Would come and tell me anything about my diary. Not telling it though, just rehearsal. And would try become a daughter of a real or unreal jurist in Marburg. They had a house though, in nice an area. There's another goodie, and help destroying my life, because great part I must say, I have to thank her. And the latest undertaking was, if she was her, because she biochemistry, because she was already quite odd looking. She indeed would kind of, yeah, groundings, social groundings. They can do things with weapons, florets, and so on and so forth. So she now herself would do like this, whilst having been in my very vagina as a gynecologist. So what did she do there? Yeah, I could not do anything. I would, it was already done. I would, after an hour here or so in my flat, I would not really cool off, drive back and see what I can get out of her. I could not even ask a thing other than letting me explain what she was researching there. Let's hope for the best that the thing she would grab out of a foil indeed was originally closed before doing this in my very vagina. As a then gynecologist. Prior she was, if it was her, she prior was a person selling off medicaments in the local drugstore.